Calling all entrepreneurs, get ready, because if you had to close your doors due to the coronavirus, well, it's time to reopen. So don't go away, because it's time to level up.
Build Prince George's is a proud sponsor of Level Up. Build Prince George's, strengthening diverse local and minority businesses 360 degrees. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm Denise Smith, and welcome to Level Up. We all know the entire country is trying to recover from the coronavirus pandemic. In fact, many states are trying to reopen and get back to some sense of a new normal. So what does that look like for small businesses? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And my first guest is Jermaine Hunter, safety expert with the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Prince George's Community College, as well as he's the owner of H3 Consulting. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So can you talk about your role at the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and what you do there?
Sure. My role is more of a safety expert, subject matter expert, where I am assisting small businesses in developing risk and safety programs to help them run their operations smoothly and in a safe manner.
Okay, and what services does H3 Consulting provide?
So H3 Safety Consulting provides an array of risk management and safety services, again, helping businesses to identify risk and then those exposures, as well as the controls for those risk and exposures. So we do things such as OSHA inspections, DOT support, safety and health program development, training. So again, an array of safety and health services that we would provide.
Okay, and let's talk about OSHA. What is it and what is its role during this pandemic?
Sure. OSHA is Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which is the federal arm for all things related to safety for employee workers. And so what OSHA does is it sets the standards for employers to follow to keep their employees safe. So during this particular time with the pandemic, and OSHA's always had things in place for stuff like this, but OSHA's role is to ensure that employers are, again, maintaining a safe and healthful workplace for all their employees.
So the rules or policies that they put in place, they are requirements. You're required to follow them?
Yes, you are required to follow them. And one of the rules that a lot of people overlook or are not necessarily familiar with is OSHA's general duty clause. Their general duty clause basically says that every employer must provide a safe and healthful workplace for their employees. So in doing that, how that plays out is that an employer, no matter what the situation, has to come up with certain solutions in order to be able to provide a safe and healthful workplace for their employees. So in this particular time, dealing with the COVID, you now have to evaluate what your exposure is, and then put those type of controls in place. And again, that all falls under OSHA's general duty clause.
Okay. So in your capacity, what exactly is it that you're doing when as you work with small businesses during the pandemic to get their operations to a safety standard?
So basically what we do is we help them to identify what their exposure is, and then help them to identify certain controls that they can put in place to minimize that. Working with small businesses on personal protective equipment. What's the best personal protective equipment? What personal protective equipment should they avoid? Because there's some misconceptions out there of certain things. So again, our capacity is to really be able to help them evaluate what is needed, for that particular business, and then help them to put mitigation controls in place.
So you mentioned personal protection equipment to avoid. What kinds of equipment do businesses need to avoid?
So when I say that, what I mean is a lot of folks, when the pandemic first hit, they went out and they got N95 respirators, because that's what, that was the thing. Well, those are appropriate for the pandemic. However, when you choose those, you have to do, according to OSHA, there are a number of other steps that go along with that. For instance, when you put someone in a respirator, according to the OSHA standards, you have to do medical evaluation and fit testing for them. Now, OSHA has kind of loosened that a little bit right now. However, what was happening was where people were putting folks in respirators, but not necessarily doing the medical evaluation. So in essence, you're actually creating a bigger problem than you might be trying to control, because everyone is not fit to wear a respirator. And so in helping small businesses, you're helping them to decide which personal protective equipment is best for them, as opposed to just doing a blanket, here, take this and put, and use it.
Okay. So the country, a lot of states are trying to reopen.
Sure.
Right? What exactly is happening in the reopening process for?
Well, I think what you're seeing right now is a tax on the economy, and so because of that, states and local jurisdictions are trying to open up as fast as possible to try to rebuild that economy. However, what you're seeing in doing that is a lot of folks are in a lot of states are having spikes in numbers. Because people are excited. Yes, we can go back out now. We can get back out there, but the threat is still real. I mean, and it's a very significant one, and it's important for organizations and establishments to take the necessary precautions to kind of slowly get back into this. So again, I think, back to your original question, I think what you're seeing is just people are just excited to be able to get out, while at the same time not fully putting all of the necessary precautions in place that need to be there.
Okay. Are there requirements that all businesses must have in place in order to reopen their doors to the public and for their employees?
Yeah, I mean, so the CDC puts out has put out a number of things for businesses, and what they need to have. They also have a toolkit that I think is very good for reopening, that you could actually go through and be able to check off and say, hey, we have this in place. But a lot of the things that are being required is obviously social distancing, limiting the amount of people in various areas. There's square footage requirements where a certain amount of people for certain organizations can be in a certain amount of square footage. Personal protective equipment is being required. So these are kind of some of the standard things. But again, I think, when you talk about the staples, you're talking about personal protective equipment, you're talking about social distancing, obviously sanitation, and being able to show how you're cleaning your facility and things of that nature.
And just speaking about the cleaning of it, if I'm, the other day, Prince George's County is now, they have reopened some of their businesses on a limited basis. And I did go to get my nails done. I saw a new way of doing things in these operations. What are the requirements when it comes to cleaning? Because I expected to see a certain level of cleaning between each customer, or certain time periods. Are there requirements specific to that?
So they're not necessarily requirements in the sense of this is a law, or this is a requirement, but there is guidance for that. in reference to this is how you should clean. This is the frequency of how you should clean. And so even to what you just said, after every customer, you're spraying down and things of that nature. So there's guidance that's put out. The CDC and World Health Organization puts out those type of guidance, which a lot of the things that you're seeing, the different states and stuff are following. So organizations and businesses should definitely follow that. And in some cases, maybe even go above what's being required, just being what's recommended, I should say, because of the nature of their business. So like you just said, in the hair salon or a nail salon or barbershop or whatever, your cleaning procedures might be a little bit more because you have more touch points and things of that nature. When a lot of the fitness facilities are having fits right now, no pun intended, because of the fact of what they have to do in order to be able to continue to keep their facility clean with a multitude of people that are coming through. So that's how that's being approached.
Okay, I want to take a little bit of a turn here, something that,
Sure,
because reopening is impactful for businesses as well. And with these new requirements in place, there's going to be a cost associated with it, right?
sure.
What does that look like for small business owners and how taxing is that?
Yeah, it varies. And you can't really put a number on it. And again, it goes back to your individual operation. And I tell clients all the time, no matter what you do, you have to do it that's tailored to you. So if you're a barber shop, if you're your construction company or whatever it is, you're going to have to evaluate your risk, your number of employees, things of that nature. And then once you evaluate that and put your controls in place, then you can put the dollars on that. I have a client that's a large organization, and they're putting out signs and things of that nature. And right now their dollars are in the upwards of $50,000. But again, that's a larger organization, where a smaller one, it might not have to spend that much.
Um, and then going back to the requirements, is the government conducting inspections to ensure that these businesses are following these new guidelines and rules?
So I know that OSHA has issued guidance on to their inspectors as to what to look for when they're out, and I know that the county has several inspectors that are looking for things. Now the flip side of that is there are way more businesses than there are inspectors, but there are inspections that are being done to ensure that people are doing what they have to do. And I think with this is just my opinion on this. I think with the recent spikes that you have, you're probably going to see more inspections because the governments are going to realize, like, hey, we got to make sure that folks are following the guidelines, because if not, we're going to be in another shutdown, and I don't think anybody wants that.
So do you think that they're going to be able to, to control it? I mean, if there's not enough, if there's more businesses than inspectors, how are they going to be able to manage that?
Yeah, I don't think, again, that's just the nature of the beast. I think what you're going to see is an aggressive effort to try to organizations and businesses to follow guidelines. But I think also what's going to have to happen is that the business communities are going to have to work together to ensure that they're doing what they're supposed to do, so that we don't see another shutdown. Because if the numbers continue to spike, we're going to have to do something in that regards. But if we can follow the guidelines and follow the requirements, and again, in some cases it's a little tough, but in some, like you said, it's a new normal, and we can work through it, and I think we can keep our economy going.
All right, Jermaine Hunter, thank you so much for joining me today. This was very helpful information.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Don't go away, because we'll be right back. Back and thank you for tuning in to Level Up. We are talking about how to reopen your business safely in the midst of COVID-19. And my next guest is Dr. Sharon Anderson, CEO of KCG Consulting Services. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Denise. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Oh, sure. So can you just tell us a little bit about what you do with your
Sure.
company?
Absolutely. So KCG Consulting Services is a full service business strategy company. And so we provide business plans. We help connect businesses to funding. We do strategic planning with them. We do grant writing services. And in the midst of this pandemic, we've been doing a lot of the PPP and SBA work as well. But what we found is a lot of businesses needed help in getting themselves positioned correctly before the pandemic. And so a lot of the work that we're doing now is making sure that they can survive and then thrive post-pandemic.
And I mean, you're an attorney too, right?
I'm an attorney by trade. Yes,
Right.
I went to Georgetown Law School and
Sure.
had a career. Started out as a public defender. I worked for Mayor Williams as his senior
Sure.
deputy corporation counsel. So yes.
So what are some of the legal issues that business owners need to be aware of as they reopen?
So it's liability, right? It's someone coming in and saying, I left before I came in, I didn't have COVID, and when I left, I have COVID. And so the businesses have to be prepared for that, because what I've told all of my clients, it's not if, it really is when someone comes in either with it or tries to say that they have been exposed to it because they were in their business.
Okay. So, you know, I mean, I've since there's been reopenings, you know, I've been out and about, and what I have seen so far, say, for example, I go to a nail salon and they have had me to sign a waiver,
Yes.
you know, along with other things that they put in place. That waiver may concern some people. I mean, what does that waiver mean?
Yeah. So the waivers don't mean you can't sue. You can sue anyone for anything for any reason in our country. That's part of democracy. What a waiver does is give some type of protection, and it puts people on notice. And therefore, it will make it a little more difficult if you were to be sued as a business, because you have put people on notice that they're basically coming in at their own risk, and that you're assuming the risk to come in and get the services that are available. And so I've encouraged all my clients to execute waivers and drafted waivers for all of my clients, particularly those that are consumer friendly and customer friendly and have a lot of people in and out. Because again, it's not the when, it's the if. And so letting people know, if you come in, you're making a decision to come in at your own risk, is very, very important as a business owner.
Have you already started to see people who are complaining or saying that I have contracted COVID from coming into your place of business?
Have not as yet. I think it's a difficult conversation, and it would be, in my view, a difficult suit. How really would you be able to tell that particular location caused you to contract COVID because of incubation periods, et cetera? So I think the likelihood of any individual prevailing on that case would be very low. But you as a business, you know, I represent the businesses. So you want to put every protection available to you in place, so that in the event that it comes your way, you have all the safeguards available.
Okay. And what PPE,
right?
equipment do businesses need to have in place as they reopen, or even?
So there's one thing I do want to mention. There is all the COVID. How do we protect ourselves from getting COVID? But a business owner needs to look at, how do I protect myself as a business generally during this pandemic, and how do I respond to the new norm so that I thrive? Pretty easy to say, okay, we need the waivers, we need to have the hand sanitizers. If we could have no touch soap dispensers and paper towel dispensers so people aren't touching things, that's important. But what I'm really stressing to my clients and business owners that might be listening is, you need to have a plan. Your plan needs to include all of this and then some, And it has to be very specific to your business. You can't go, well, you can go on the internet and find a plan and just buy some gloves and masks and say you're ready. But that does not mean that your business is ready for the COVID roller coaster and the pandemic roller coaster that we're dealing with. And right now, we're not just dealing with COVID, we're dealing with social justice issues, we're dealing with a variety of issues. And so businesses need to look at, okay, how do I protect myself from COVID-19? And that's pretty simple in a sense, but how am I preparing my clients? How am I preparing my staff? Are my staff being trained on how to use appropriate PPE? Is my budget planned out for 12 months? Because if we have a spike in the fall with the flu, do I have enough money to buy enough sanitizing equipment and Clorox wipes, et cetera, so that I don't run out and then I'm using something that's not as effective? And then what businesses aren't thinking about is how the soft skills. So how are my employees responding to this? Do I need to have cultural diversity training, which KCG is doing? Do I need to do cultural sensitivity? Do I need to do emotional intelligence and emotional stability training so that I'm really paying attention to the people that are working for me and that are exposing themselves to danger in a sense in the pandemic. So the strategic plans that I develop over COVID are very comprehensive.
Okay. What should customers be aware of, when they want to patronize these businesses?
Mm-hmm. You need to make sure that you're watching to see if they are cleaning. So again, I develop unique plans and every business is different. So what a nail salon might do is very different from what a hair salon might do, which is different from what a barber would do. But you want to make sure that to keep yourself safe, that there's plexiglass. If you're going to a nail salon or a hair salon, you want to make sure that your stylist or your nail tech is changing their smock after each use. You don't want them to have, before COVID, we saw our hairstylist, it was the same smock with the logo for weeks, right? But certainly for the whole day, you want to make sure that they're changing their smock. You want to make sure that the smock that they give you is not the same smock that they've given to someone else. Again, I would only patronize one of those industries or businesses if they had the plexiglass, because if water's flying, if skin is flying, if hair spray is flying, then it's flying on you, and that's one way to contract it. So that plexiglass gives you that extra protection. I would even consider for a nail salon bringing my own tools for and feet. Mm-hmm.
It's been really, so if people want to learn more information, how could they get in contact with you?
Sure. So businesses, again, business plan will contact me at Dr. Sharon at kcgllc.org.
Dr. Sharon Anderson, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Thank you for tuning in to Level Up. Today, we've been talking about how to reopen your business successfully and safely during a pandemic. Here are a few helpful tips to help you prioritize the health and safety of both employees and customers during the coronavirus. Social distancing guidelines set by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention require at least 6 feet of space between individuals whenever possible. This may mean installing physical barriers in your store or office, changing the layout to create more space between workstations, closing communal spaces, and staggering shifts and breaks to minimize any unnecessary interactions. Implement short training sessions or rigorous hand washing, how to properly wear masks and outerwear, along with extra sanitizing equipment. It may take a few days or reminders for things to stick, but it will come together. Number 2, local, state, and federal guidelines for specific industries are changing daily as COVID-19 evolves. Public health organizations have recommended businesses that are able to operate remotely, fully or partially, continue to do so to mitigate the spread of the virus. In fact, many large corporations, including Amazon, have extended their work from home orders for all employees whose jobs can be done remotely. But if your employees will soon reconvene in the workplace, here are some items to consider for your wellness plan. Personal protective equipment or face coverings for employees. Proper PPE has been an important part of protecting essential healthcare workers and limiting the spread of the virus throughout the pandemic. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, does require certain industries to use sanitized PPE like N95 masks. But if yours is not one of them, you may wish to provide cloth face coverings, masks, and or gloves for your employees to wear in the workplace. Temperature checks to enter a workplace. Temperature checks are already a requirement for some essential workers and are expected to be a requirement for reopening many types of businesses. If you decide or are required to implement temperature checks, designate one person as the recorder, such as a manager. Daily wellness checks. Self-reported symptom surveys that are completed by employees before entering the workplace are likely here to stay. Employer-led COVID testing for workers. The responsibility may soon be on employers to have a record of employee COVID-19 status or vaccination as scientific and medical research on as COVID immunity evolves. This may become part of the employer testing process as well. Non-essential retail stores are opening up across the country, even if some states only allow for curbside pickup for now. If your storefront sells physical items, you may want to take a cue from the restaurant industry, which implemented certain health and safety protocols for customer pickup orders at the start of the pandemic. This is not only a good practical public health strategy, but it may help customers feel more confident about shopping with you. Some things to consider are limit payment options to cashless methods, set up a pickup rack at the store entrance, and place safety seals on bags. Finally, once you have your health and safety plans in place for your reopening, you need a clear communication strategy to ensure your staff and customers understand their role in mitigating COVID-related risks. When you tell your customers about your reopening plans, be ready with a unified message across all your channels and reiterate that message in store and throughout regular transactional touchpoints. Most importantly, be prepared to provide updates, take feedback to heart, and adapt your operations accordingly. Hopefully these tips are helpful. For more details for small businesses as it relates to coronavirus, you can visit the website for the Center for Disease Control. And that's our show for today. I want to thank my guests, Jermaine Hunter and Dr. Sharon Anderson. This show and all previous shows are posted on our YouTube channel, so make sure you go out there, hit the subscribe button, and watch some of our episodes. Also, if we want to hear from you and we want you to join our small business club. If you'd like to join our small business club, please send an email with a link to your company website to levelup@pgctv.org. Also, if you'd like to see your business on this show, we want you to post some pictures. Post a selfie of you and your business, in particular, a selfie of you and how you're being safe in the workplace during the pandemic. Post it out on Twitter. Use the hashtag #LevelUpSelfie. Level Up is proudly sponsored by Build Prince George's. I'm Denise Smith, your host, and I will see you next time on Level Up, where your success is our success.